Today we're going to be learning about something a little different today, okay? So I'm going to tell you a little story, okay? I'm always telling stories. So this is something you did yesterday in your flip grid, right? You told a story. So I'm going to tell one. So this happened over the summer, okay? I was in a library and I was talking to my nephew, okay? My nephew Ezra, and he had asked me if I knew where the Junie B. Jones books were. Have you guys ever heard of Junie B. Jones? Are you two, a few of you? Okay, I read those books when I was a little kid, okay? So he asked me if I knew where those books were, and I was like, I don't know, but you know what? I love those books. Love, love, love. They're a real barrel of monkeys. So then Ezra just looked at me and he was like, what? A barrel of monkeys? So are any of you thinking right now, you're like, what? A barrel of monkeys? What does that even mean? Okay. So you are right that Junie B. Jones has nothing to do with monkeys. Nothing at all. I don't think the books ever have monkeys. There's no monkeys in her name. So what do they have to do with monkeys? Okay. So if you were confused by that expression I used, it because it is an expression, okay? So when I said that those books are a barrel of monkeys, I used an expression that some people use to describe something that is really funny. So you know what other things that I use to say funny. So sometimes I say, oh, such a hoot or a riot. Those are also words too. So I'm telling you this because as you tackle more and more complex text, you're going to see that there are many, maybe times when you are reading along in a book, everything is making total sense. You're like, all right, I understand, understand, understand. But uh-oh. Then there's an expression like when I said that Junie B. Jones books are as funny as a barrel of monkeys, even though you may know each of those words. All right, we know what barrel is, a big kind of a big storage container. We know what monkeys are. So even though we know what each of the words means, the author puts them together in a phrase that can seem weird and confusing, right? So those are times once again that you guys need grit. Remember that word, reading grit, okay? So we need to use that reading grit. So today I want to teach you that when readers come upon a confusing expression in a text, that your job is to use all they know about what's been going on in the book. So use, all right, what just happened in the book? What did I just read? To figure out what that expression might mean. And then keep reading, checking on your not guest, as you read, okay? So let's talk a little bit more about this, okay? So although we're going to go back to the barrel of monkeys, okay? Although each of the words in the expression might be simple, so there's no hard words in the expression barrel of monkeys, all right? We know what a barrel is, we know what monkeys are. To understand what I mean by that phrase, you need to understand that I'm not using the phrase in a literal way. I'm not actually saying that Junie B. Jones books have a dozen of monkeys squished into a barrel. That's not what I mean at all, is it? So you're supposed to think about how that expression fits with what I'm saying. So think of another expression that maybe you've read in a book, maybe your parents have said, maybe your grandparents, someone that you've heard say, and you're like, what does that even mean? That makes no sense at all. So one of those expressions that we can talk about is don't cry over spilled milk. Raise your hand if you've ever heard that expression. Don't cry over spilled milk. Okay, a few of you. That's more than I thought because I really don't even use that expression. So don't cry over spilled milk. Let's use it and I'm going to do an example. Say we were in school and say one of you accidentally ripped a page out of our books, one of our books. You come up and you say, I'm so sorry, Miss Kalina. I ripped the page of this book. I taped it, but it still looks awful. So you tried to fix it and it still looks bad. I'm going to say, well, don't cry over spilt milk. What would I mean? First of all, raise your hands. Am I actually talking about milk? Milk that you drink? No, I'm not really talking about milk. We're not, nowhere have we dealt with milk. You're talking about a book, and now I'm talking about milk. So I'm not really talking about milk. So the real message to you is that you should, so talking about milk, no. So we would be suggesting that don't cry over spilled milk. So don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. That's what I'm really trying to say. It's such a small, small problem. Don't be upset about it, is what I'm actually trying to say, okay? So my message for you today is that you should expect that as you move to more and more complex text, that there will be phrasing that makes you go, what? What does that even mean? Often these expressions that people call figurative language, because the meaning is not immediately obvious. Sometimes you don't know what it means immediately, okay? So we talked about yesterday about using context clues to figure out what a hard word means. You can also use context clues, so looking at the surrounding text, the surrounding words, to figure out what the expression means, okay? Ask yourself, what is happening in this part of the story? And then reread the part of the story if you need to. Looking at any clues that can help you figure out the part of the story is really about and what that expression might mean. So we are going to do a little bit of one together, okay? So I have, once again, we're going to go back to Stone Fox, okay? I went ahead. I'm going to show you. We're going to do kind of what we did yesterday when I showed my Google Docs. So go ahead and you're going to look at my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you could see. Okay. Piper, what's up?
You said raise your hand if you can see.
Oh, yes, sorry. You're totally right. Miss Kalina has not had enough coffee today, has she? Okay, so please follow along while I read to this first blue. And then notice what I have underlined, okay? So follow along. Willie left the bank with a stack of $10 gold pieces, 5 of them to be exact. He walked into the mayor's office and plopped the coins down onto the mayor's desk. Me and Searchlight are going to win that $500, Mr. Mayor. You'll see. Everybody will see. Mayor Smiley counted the money, wiped his neck, and entered Little Willie into the race. When Little Willie stepped out of the City Hall building, he felt 10 feet tall. He looked up and down the snow-covered street. He was grinning ear to ear. So here's my phrase underline. What's up?
Okay, so when you said you'll see everybody, you'll put push the everybody, push the everybody.
Push the everybody?
No, push.
Oh.
Yeah. See.
Okay.
It changed it to make
Yep.
it more.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So let's look at this. Grinning from ear to ear. Do you guys think that I actually mean that Willie's mouth just got super big and goes from ear to ear? Is that what I mean when I read that grinning ear to ear? Is that what the author's trying to say? That Willie's mouth all of a sudden just got triple the size and was ear to ear? No, it just means that he's grinning so big. Everyone make a big smile. Make a big smile. Even make your biggest smile that you can. Biggest smile. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. No, we don't even get ear to, we're not even close to getting ear to ear. So that's actually impossible. But it just means that he's grinning so big, making the biggest grin ever. That's kind of an expression to explain how much was he grinning? He was grinning ear to ear. Okay, let's do this one. I'm going to read this. You guys listen, okay? Please turn your cameras on, guys. Remember, we keep our cameras on while I'm teaching, and you can turn them off when you're doing independent work. All right, I'm going to read this next passage. If you stay a minute, you can have some cinnamon cake I got in the oven. Yes, ma'am. Later on his way to town, Little Willie sang at the top of his lungs. All right, let's stop there. Do I actually mean at the top of his lungs, that the top of his lungs sang? No, I mean that he's saying really, really loudly at the top of his lungs. How many of you guys, maybe one time someone's told you scream at the top of your lungs? Don't do that. That will alarm your parents a lot. So that's what it means, okay? So this figurative language is kind of just ways that we kind of express things in a funny way, okay? So think of that today. Think of that today, okay? So today when we're reading, okay, when you come to a passage that seems like nonsense, use your grit, remember your determination, just like little Willie, and get to work, okay? So as we read today, remember that there are many strategies that you can use to help you get what you're reading, okay? Remember chunking words, thinking about the story as a picture, what's going on. Okay, so what you're gonna do today